Hello, and welcome to Kiki in the Cronx with Anola and Zachariah Adil.
No one ever sat me down and said, right, then this is what you should look for. These are the qualities you should look for. If he treats you like this, then you should not be with him. This is what you want. This is the sort of values you want from a guy. This is what the same sort of outlook you want. You know, you need to be mindful. You need to be careful. You need to respect yourself. You need to find a guy who also respects you. Nobody ever sat me down and said that. But what I did hear was just, men are a waste of time. Men will let you down. Men are cheaters. Men are violent. Mm-hmm. You know, men are, they're dirty. All they want is sex. Men are, they will basically, don't trust them because they will let you down.
So toxic masculinity.
Well, I mean, I guess we didn't really call it that. But that's what I heard growing up, was that men basically were basically shit. But at the same token, there was this whole kind of thing of the fairy tale does exist, it just doesn't exist for us. They don't really believe that it exists for them. So that's a kind of a really messed up way to kind of grow up, because
That's really profound what you just said. The fairy tale does exist, just not for us.
Yeah.
That is really profound. Yeah. Because when you said that, I feel like I resonate with that. It exists. I just don't know how to bring it into my experience, or I haven't experienced it. All my life I haven't experienced it, but it exists, just not for me.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it does exist, really. I don't know if it does. But I do think a healthy, balanced, loving relationship does exist. Mm-hmm. I don't believe it's the fairy tale. I don't believe it's like in a romantic movie.
No, not like a Disney.
You know, no, it's not like a Disney. I mean, it's not. It's also not like those films which now every time I watch a romantic comedy, I just laugh to myself because it's like, how can they expect us to believe this shit? And it's like there's this real lack of reality in terms of you're not going to meet somebody and have everything in common with them. You're just not going to. Relationships, they take time. And you've got to build these things up. You can't just trust somebody out of nowhere. You can't just be like this whole like, oh, there's one person out there for me. I just don't believe that. I think it's a nice idea, but I think in a world as big as ours, I think that's what stops a lot of people from... That's why there are 60-year-old men on Grindr. I think. Like older people, and they've let time pass them by because they have this idea that they have to meet this person who's going to tick all 20 things they have on their list. And because the world... on the dating apps and stuff, there's so many people there. If there's like 2 things that are not on the list, it's most probably going to be 10 things not on the list. They will move on because they think there's someone else out there who's going to have everything on their list. And it's just unrealistic.
No, but then you need to know, in terms of the relationship, what is the important core that you want that person to be in order for the relationship to work?
Yeah, yes, I agree with that. Yeah. I think that comes down to sharing certain values. But I don't think you're going to get everything. I think it is about saying what can I do without, because it's unrealistic. You know, people have these big lists. I've been watching First Dates on Channel 4, and people are like, yeah, I want somebody who's good looking, got a good job. He's got a nice car, I like a bloke with muscles. I just think, that's not important. What about how he treats you? Mm-hmm. What about, like, whether he believes in giving to charity? That's really important to me.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think the values being in alignment is really important. Because if you don't have that, how are you going to raise the kids if you have kids?
Absolutely.
But then also, you want somebody to to at least match you in that regard, I think.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that movie Another Year?
Another Year?
I think
Sounds familiar. Who's in it?
A Mike Leigh movie. Nobody famous. Jim Broadbent's in it.
I can't remember. But I think I know the one you mean. Yeah. Yeah.
So in that movie, Jim Broadbent and his wife, they've got this relationship, and it's like a really genuine relationship. If you ever see it, if you've seen it, and it's like it's a realistic portrayal of what a couple sort of entering their, I suppose it'd be their late 50s or early 60s together, and the way that they've lived their life, and their values are really in alignment. It's just family values. They've got their child. They've raised him well, and he goes on to find somebody. But they're around all these people who are relatively dysfunctional, and so it's so interesting to see how that relatively functional couple, how they have developed their life with just small kindnesses left, right, and centre towards each other and towards everybody else, and then this dysfunctional people around them just can't find the key to a relationship with anybody. But because in one way or another, they're just so self-oriented and they can't see that giving is the way to really get it. I mean, I have the opposite issue, which is that I give too much, as I've already said. But it was interesting to me that people. It was just an interesting movie to watch for that relationship. But their values are very, very much aligned, and I just found that relationship really beautiful and really believable. So as you're talking, it just reminded me of that.
And I think those are the people that have the happiest relationships. I think.
And it wasn't about beauty. It wasn't about any of those things. It wasn't about anything superficial. The reason why their relationship worked is because they were focused on the right things.
Yeah. And I think that you can. I've been out with a couple of guys who I thought were super, super hot. And like one particular guy I was really, really physically attracted to, and he had a really cool job. And ultimately, when I saw him on the dating website, that's what attracted me to him. And I thought, oh, he's really good looking. Oh, he's got a really cool job. And his messages were very short. Didn't really say much. He didn't really ask me much about myself. And basically that was the relationship because I was shallow in that circumstances. At that time though, I thought those were important things. But they weren't at all.
But we're told these are the important things.
We're told these are the important
things.
Disney
teaches us that. Hollywood teaches us that.
Yes, it does.
The society around us, this bloody reality TV teaches us that. Love Island and
I don't watch
Made in Chelsea. I don't watch these things either. But a lot of people do. A lot of people do.
Yes, they do. And it's that shallowness of they got to look a certain way, they got to have a certain job. It's all about image, isn't it? And we are taught that, and I think we've always been taught that. Disney tells us that our prince will come, and he's a prince. He's got status. I mean, it's only Shrek that says the ogre can get love.
Yeah. And Frozen, she chose her sister over the lover.
Oh, I've never seen Frozen. Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Chicks before dicks.
And in Maleficent, Angelina Jolie's supposedly evil character was the one that the young girl needed, as opposed to the prince. So Disney's trying to change stuff, but yet
they're trying.
The myth is still in all of those stories. The myth is always there.
I've read a lot about looks, about being, and it clouds your judgment.
Yeah,
a lot.
It does.
And it's not something that's going to
fulfill you long term.
That
is true, because they always say looks fade.
Yeah.
Not only do looks fade, but the eye of the beholder's perception
your attraction to them
also changes.
Yeah.
So I was with a very attractive guy when I was in Cambodia. After I realised who he actually was, anytime I saw a photo of him, it just made me cringe. It just made me feel sick that I was with him. I didn't care about how
pretty he was or how beautiful he was. In my mind, I just remembered his audacities. There's a word in Hindi called harkat, which basically means audacities. I was trying to the harkat came into my head, and I'm like, what's the English equivalent? Just ridiculous audacities.
So like liberties.
Liberties, there you go. That's a better word.
Take the piss, basically.
Absolutely.
Right.
And then when I look at him, I don't see his good-lookingness or his attractiveness. All I'm seeing is his liberties.
Liberties.
So he's not attractive. He's not attractive to me.
Because
but that's made me question. That's made me think twice about other good-looking guys or people that look like him, because it's making me think. Okay, is this person going to ride on the fact that they're attractive? I just don't want to date a narcissist again. So I'm trying to be more conscious about my choices in relationships, and part of that means assessing whether this good-looking person is going to be one.
Right.
Because the narcissists tend to be quite attractive because beauty matters to them.
Every part of the of the puzzle has to be there. So I think it is important to find your partner attractive.
Oh, for sure. But it doesn't have to be through. I mean, it's nice if they're physically attractive. They don't have to be drop dead gorgeous.
Well, they have to be attractive to you.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
that could mean any. I mean, I had a boyfriend, and you probably remember him. And he wasn't conventionally attractive. You know, he isn't what society would say. You know, he wasn't what they would say was like a Brad Pitt or Leonardo DiCaprio in his younger days. And when I first met him, I wasn't like, oh wow, he didn't make my heart flutter, but we got to know each other a little bit, and he was a nice guy at that time. He was a sweet guy. He called me when he said he would. You know, he was respectful. There was a lot of stuff that we had value-wise, background-wise, that were in common, outlook-wise. And I became attracted to him because I liked him as a person. And you know, now I think, oh gosh, you know, he really wasn't my type at all. But actually, those other things were more important. And, you know, I think that if you lead with just looks and you ignore the rest of the person's personality, or you don't pay attention to who they are as a person, I think that's a problem.
That's massively problematic.
Which a lot of people do,
more
though.
And more. Yeah, absolutely. But social media hasn't helped. You know, all of this selfie culture that we have, and it's not hasn't helped that situation. It's basically, I heard this statistic today on BBC Asian Radio, the Asian network, that 10% of Asian guys, and I think it was something crazy like, what was it? Like 60% of Asian girls are not happy with the way they look, and that they're depressed about the way that they look. I can't remember that was 60%, but it was something crazy for the women, and 10% of guys. I just assumed 10% of guys, they're probably gay. That's probably wrong.
No,
but
probably.
I'm sure that's not true.
Yeah. Well, I think that statistic though is probably going to be high across the board for every person of every background in the current culture that we live in.
Find us on Instagram to get in touch, or visit our website kikiandthecronx.com, where you will find a full list of shows. Please subscribe and rate us on iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you like to listen to podcasts. Thanks.